Fouls away the first pitch. First pitch of tonight's game brought to you by First Tech Federal Credit Union. Aaron Goldsmith and Mike Blowers. We are a world apart, Mike, but it feels like we're right next to each other. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. You are our on-site meteorologist. We're looking okay for the rest of the night. Is that fair to say?
There might be a shower. We had some in last night's game, too, but I think everything's going to be just fine tonight. A little chilly for the guys, but I think they're happy to be playing a night game.
You are wearing multiple jackets as we speak. As D gets caught looking. Good start for Nick Margevicius right out of the gates. Well, there are a lot of things, Mike, for us to talk about in the first telecast on Root Sports in the spring training for the Mariners. We're going to have a chance to talk with Scott Service and Jerry DiPoto later in the broadcast tonight. It sounds like hopefully we'll also be able to visit with Justin Dunn from the dugout. He's scheduled to pitch this evening as well. But tonight we are getting to see one of the really frontline battles this spring training, and that is for the number 6 starter position. Nick Margevicius, Justin Dunn, both pitching tonight. This is the second time that they have piggybacked one another in spring training. Last time it was Dunn who started the game. Margevicius came in relief, and tonight it's Nick Margevicius who gets the start.
Yeah, I'll be curious as they move forward if they're going to continue to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Margevicius looks really good here tonight already, and we'll get to see Dunn, as you mentioned. So it's pretty early for these guys. They're getting a few turns in the rotation now, but we'll see how it all shakes out. I don't think this decision will get made until the end of camp, though.
Scott and Jerry have made it clear that it will be an 8-man bullpen for the Mariners this year, so it would be safe to think that whoever does not win this battle for the number 6 starter would then make their at least temporary residence in the bullpen until their services are needed at some point again in the future in the rotation. But one of the decisions for Scott and company to be making here in spring training.
Well, and they're also going to need some long relief early in the season. And both of these guys will get stretched out. So I think, however it shakes out, the guy that's in the bullpen will be valuable, especially the first month and a half.
Flo, do you have clear eyes on radar reading numbers from where you are? Is this something you can keep us posted on tonight? Cut on and miss.
Yeah, that was a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
A couple of strikeouts right out of the gates for Nick Margevicius. We'll lean heavily on you for your velo readings tonight, Mike.
Had to find it on the scoreboard, but here's a good fastball, 92 miles an hour. Elevated it. We heard Bill Kruger talk about how he elevates the fastball from time to time, and that was above the belt.
2 up and 2 down. Nick Senzel, former 2nd overall pick by the Reds back in 2016. Climbs in, looks at strike 1. This much we know about Nick Margevicius, Mike. He throws his fastball a lot. Nearly 65% of the time last year, despite not having overwhelming velocity.
I think the main thing with him, though, is he really likes to work ahead. He's aggressive with his fastball. And at 92 miles an hour, it plays at the top of the zone. Where he gets into trouble is when he falls behind, and then he's going to throw that fastball more belt high or lower, and that's typically when he gets hit a little bit. But if he stays at the top of the zone, it really sets up his off-speed pitches as well.
Missing up high. And last year, more fastballs for Margevicius, fewer sliders than the year before. That's a trend that kind of cuts against the grain of what we're seeing from many pitchers these days. Two and two.
Another fastball, 91 miles an hour above the belt.
Pretty close. Full count to Senzel. Margevicius, 24 years old, will turn 25 this summer. Native of Cleveland, Ohio. Huge Browns fan. On the ground. Not where you want to hit it if you're an opposing batter. Right to Kyle Seager. And Nick Margevicius. Hard throwing right-hander. It was an all-star back in 2019. Last year was fantastic once again, but he can race it up there upper 90s. Yeah, his first fastball was 96 miles an hour, and he has some run to it.
The guys will have their work cut out, probably go 3 innings, maybe 4.
Liberato, a longtime Mariners minor leaguer. The 2-1. Well, it's a shame, Mike, we don't get a chance to see Mitch Haniger play tonight. Probably tomorrow. That game will be on Root Sports once again against the Colorado Rockies. But it was interesting to see his name at the top of the order tonight, which is something that we saw a couple of years ago. In recent time, we've seen J.P. Crawford be the primary leadoff man for Scott Service, but it'll be curious to see if Mitch, now that he's...
We have seen it a couple of times this spring, and I just wonder, because it's either him or J.P. Crawford in that leadoff spot, and if it's going to be a left-right situation as the year goes on, or how Scott's going to manage it. You mentioned that he was in the lineup today, probably because of the conditions here. It's wet in the outfield. Got to keep him healthy.
Mitch really was so electric when he was at the top of the order. The numbers would bear that out. Luis Torrens digs in, DHing tonight. Found away the first pitch. Interesting hearing Scott talk earlier today to the media about having both catchers in the lineup, which is something that we have seen him do before, and he even kind of admitted that as a manager it is a little bit of a roll of the dice when you put both of them in there, but the upside that he sees, Mike, offensively from his 2 catchers, the other of course being Tom Murphy, feels like that's worth a little bit of a gamble.
Well, I think if they're both able to swing the bat. By the way, it's great to see Murphy in the lineup tonight and doing the catching, and he's healthy, and he looks really good right now behind the plate. See if he can catch up a little bit on the hitting side of things, but I think at times it's worth the gamble. You can work your way around it.
2 outs for Kyle Seager. Of course, if one of those catchers gets hurt, then all of a sudden we might be seeing Marco Gonzalez pick up a bat. Which I'm sure he would be very happy to do.
Yeah, I'm sure that he would be, and that would be an option. Probably just lose your DH. So hopefully you have some guys on the bench that are ready to play. Kyle has looked great this spring, by the way, Aaron. He's really swung the bat well. He's been patient at the plate.
So good to see. Put up good numbers last year, and now you look at the other anchors on that infield that go along with the Gold Glove caliber defense that Seager brings each and every day, and it is certainly one of the more impressive defensive infields that you'll find in the American League, and Seager a major reason why. Two balls and a strike to Kyle.
I think you're right about that, Aaron. J.P. Crawford, an exceptional year last year defensively. We've all talked about Evan White and what he's able to do. Pretty strong defensive infield.
Upper 90s once again from Castillo. I found a radar reading, by the way, Mike. So I'm not, the pressure's off.
Thanks for that.
Seager thinking that missed away. Full count. I could tell it was a little too much of a workload for you this early in spring.
I thought you'd be proud of me. I jumped right in there with it.
I could see your eyes racing all over the ballpark. Full count to Kyle with 2 outs and nobody on. Well, unfortunately, Mike, the weather is probably no doubt keeping some fans away tonight, but I have to imagine, as you've been to essentially every game for the Mariners this spring, how wonderful it is to see fans in the ballpark, and how, as we'll talk about later in the broadcast tonight, how excited we are to have fans back at T-Mobile Park this year.
You bet. We're going to talk to Jerry DiPoto. I was talking to him about it 2 days ago, and as Kyle takes the walk, but Jerry was talking about it too, just the difference. And even here you're limited. I think they've been averaging a little over 1,600 fans here in this ballpark, including the ones that they have out on the berm. But he was saying it's just nice to see people here at the ballpark, to hear the noise. The players certainly appreciate it. It brings some energy to them. So, and good news just a couple of days ago also on the Mariners side of things. So I know that the guys certainly welcome the fans back to the ballpark.
We'll be having Trevor Gooby, the Mariners Senior VP of Ballpark Operations, joining us on telecast not long from now. We'll be talking about the measures the Mariners are putting in place as Kyle Lewis stings this foul into the corner. Oh, what a season it was for number 1 Kyle Lewis, the unanimous American League Rookie of the Year. Led the Mariners in homers and hits and runs and walks. Second rookie in team history to lead the ball club in homers. The other guy, somebody else who won the American League Rookie of the Year, Mr. Mariner, Alvin Davis, back in 1984. Oh, 1 to Lewis. They appealed on the check swing.
I don't know about you, Aaron, but you talked about all those numbers with Lewis and the numbers that he put up last year. I was kind of wondering when we left spring training how he was going to do defensively out in center field, and I thought he really played well out in center, also along with the offensive production that you're looking at.
It seemed to me, hearing Scott and Jerry talk about it, that when they put Kyle out in center, it was more of a let's see how this plays out, right? This was not a full conviction, hey, he's going to be an everyday center fielder, but we want to give it a run, and they did. And certainly Kyle Lewis passed the test, and now we see him as a mainstay out there. But I think you're right, proved a lot of things last year. No high socks for K-Lou tonight, maybe a little too chilly as he just gets a piece of that, fouls it back to the glove of Stevenson. A man left. We've played an inning scoreless in Peoria.
The Mariners fans that we've got spring training baseball today, Saturday, Sunday, and yes, they do get to go to games this year, starting with that home opener on April 1st. 9,000 fans there, Trevor. That's fantastic. All right, first question, I guess, is how are they going?
And you'll also be sitting in seating pods. It'll be 6 foot separated from other pods throughout the stadium or at the ballpark, and those pods will be in 2s and 4s and 6s. So you will be able to buy tickets based on what your family situation is and be able to sit in a socially distanced environment watching our Mariners play.
And it could be 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, right?
It is, and I think that's probably one of the best things in our plan is that we've been able to open up the entire stadium or entire ballpark, and so there'll be seating throughout the ballpark. We want people to enjoy themselves coming to T-Mobile Park. It's such a beautiful ballpark, and we want them to be safe while they're doing it. And so, you know, in the first inning, you might be sitting in your seats in the 100 level, and then later in the game, you want to walk up to see the sunset at the 300 level. You'll be able to do that. So, in a safe manner.
It's good to point out. I'm glad you did. That you'll be able to move around a little bit, so you won't just be stuck in your seat. You'll be able to move around. You'll be able to get concessions with a little bit different, right? And no cash.
Yeah,
correct?
So we are working with our concessionaire and working on a plan for that. So we are going to be a cashless ballpark. So what that means is all our points of sale will be able to take all forms of credit cards, debit cards, Apple Pay, things like that. If you do have cash, we have machines inside the ballpark that will turn that cash into debit cards. But you'll see the same great offerings at the concession stands: the garlic fries, the hot dogs, my favorite, the crab sandwich. All those things you'll be able to see inside the ballpark. They'll have some grab-and-go areas, so you'll be able to get concessions quickly because we don't want people congregating and waiting in lines, and so we'll be making sure that the speed of service is as fast as we possibly can do it.
And are all concessions open? We talked before. The pen is going to be open, right? Concessions?
The pen is open. We'll have concessions in the pen. Because we only have 9,000 people in the stadium, there will be some limited concessions, but we'll have, you know, all your favorite items in the stadium that you'll be able to find.
All right, now coming in is a little bit different as well. I know when we come in, Angie mentioned we love her, but she's got this huge It's not even a purse. It's more like a suitcase full of gear she brings in.
I think I've seen that before.
On wheels. Yes. I don't know how the wheels withstand the weight. Yeah, and someone else carrying it as well. Will she be able to bring that in?
So unfortunately,
and you have to tell her no.
Okay, I'll make sure. But unfortunately, this year we're not allowing bags inside the ballpark. And the reason for that is we're trying to make all transactions when you're close to a person as fast as possible. And so no bags, so our security staff do not need to check bags. So we're asking all our fans, leave those bags at home, leave them in your car if you end up at the parking garage. If you forget those things, we will have lockers available for rent outside of the stadium, outside of the ballpark, so you'll be able to leave those there. But that will be a big change this year. And hopefully, again, all these rules are in place while we have the COVID situation going on. And as we have more people vaccinated, we'll be able to potentially reduce some of these restrictions. So April and May might look a little bit different than June and July. And hopefully we'll be able to get more people in the stadium, again, as more people are vaccinated and COVID starts to go away.
All right, so no bags, no purses, no outside food coming in, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's true.
So 9,000 get to come in as ground ball scores a run for the Reds here in the top of the second inning. They lead 1-0 now. So 9,000 fans come in. Who are these fans? Who has priority to tickets? When do tickets go on sale? How can they get tickets?
Sure. So our season ticket holders will have the first crack at getting tickets. And then fans who sign up for Mariners Mail on mariners.com will also have opportunities to buy tickets. And then if there's still tickets available, there'll be single game tickets available after that. We'll be having the first 11 games on sale. And then again, as we continue to work with our public health officials, potentially being able to increase attendance and capacity, we'll be able to release more dates for sale later this summer. But again, from all the ticket information, mariners.com is the best place to be able to get all your information.
And the Mariners Mail subscribers, they're available to get tickets as well, right?
Yep, sign up right on mariners.com and you'll be able to do that.
A fly ball to left field there. Should be out number 2 in the inning, and it is. Runner retreats there to first base. So I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but I want to kind of go back and take us through maybe the last couple of months working with health and safety. And just people say, oh, fans come in, great, we've got these things in place. But these things have been in place. You guys have been thinking and working and trying things out for months.
It actually probably more than months, probably almost a year process. And I'm really proud of the way our team's operated this. We've always taken health and safety as the priority and made sure that this is the thing that is the number one thing. We want to keep everyone safe, from the staff members to the players, the coaches, and the fans that are eventually going to come in. So those were the 3 things that we focused on: getting people safe, keeping people safe, returning baseball, and then now returning fans. And so we've had a team that's worked on this every day for the last year, thinking of all the different things, from what does social distancing ticketing look like, what does social distancing inside a stadium look like, how to keep everyone safe. And I'm, again, really proud that we've been able to do this, and really need to thank all our public health officials from the state level, the county, and city. They have been tremendous partners of ours, and being able to give us advice and ideas, and as we're thinking things, really just showing us the best practices to keep everyone safe.
All right. Inning is over, conversation over. Trevor, we appreciate the time. It's fantastic news, fans. 9,000 to start, and hopefully more. Trevor, we appreciate that as we move now to the bottom of the second.
VP of Ballpark Operations for making the drive-in studio, hanging out with Brad Adam. Evan White lifts this to right field. Aquino settles underneath it with 2 hands. Round number 1. I think really, Mike, to grasp the work that Trevor and John Stanton have put in to making the ballpark safe and accommodating to our fans. This is work that started last season, even when it was obvious and well known that fans would not be coming to the ballpark last year. Still, the relationships with King County Health, state health officials, began then the conversations, the relationships, so that when this day became available, that things were getting better and fans could come in, it was as seamless as possible. Walkthroughs that dated back to last year and have happened even as recently as this month, walking through the ballpark, making sure it would be set up in an appropriate manner.
Yeah, and having get the okays from everybody, and fortunately that worked out. But the thing I was thinking about is you go through all that work, Aaron, and you don't have a date that you're working towards. You don't know when it's going to happen. And fortunately, they got some pretty good news, and we're all excited to see the fans at the ballpark.
Murphy hits it hard on the ground up the middle. Backhand by India. Round number 2. Two up and 2 down for Sam Haggerty.
And Castillo looks like he's ready for the season to start. Fastball's been at 96, 97 miles an hour. Pretty good breaking ball.
Haggerty really made an immediate impact with the Mariners when he came up and made his Mariners debut last year. Unfortunately, had his season cut short because of a forearm strain, but he's somebody that Scott, Jerry, baseball operations department, they think so highly of simply because of his versatility. Tonight we see him at shortstop. Mike, I know you had a chance to talk to him last year, and he kind of lit up when talking about the opportunity to play a little shortstop here and there.
Yeah, that's his favorite position, but we've seen him at second base. He'll go over and play some third. I thought he just brought a lot of energy to the club last year.
Ball's behind 1 and 2. Now 26 years old, switch hitter, and he has played a little bit all over the place. Left field, right field, third base, can play short obviously. Didn't have a chance to play a whole lot with the Mariners last year before injury, but made a nice impact when he was healthy. D's got it for out number 3. Castillo faced just 1 over the minimum through 2 scoreless. .com/21 for more information. It is a one-of-a-kind season ticket membership form that the Mariners created not long ago that gives you all kinds of options and allows you to fully customize your season ticket membership. Mariners.com/21. Top of the 3rd, Margevicius getting the start tonight. Second start of the springtime. He pours across the strike. Chesler Cuthbert, the former Royal. It's this quickly over to Donovan Walton, who is able to gather. Out number 1. Walton, a Gold Glove winner in the minors during his time in AA with the Travelers.
Margevicius looks good tonight, I think. He did give up the 1 run in the 2nd inning on a base hit. Made a mistake 3-1. Ball that was hit into the gap. That ended up costing him, but after that he settled down. Some weak contact since then.
D getting the start tonight at shortstop for the Reds. Just broke in as a shortstop many years ago with the Dodgers. Won a Gold Glove at second base. Signed a minor league deal with Cincinnati this offseason. He finds a base hit on the ground and left. 1-out single. D known so much for his work in the community. Hutch Award winner last year, and a guy that certainly many in the Seattle area and in the clubhouse have fond memories of D's time in Seattle for what he was able to do for people in his community back in Florida, but also his adopted home in Seattle during his time with the Mariners.
Able to pick up a base hit on a breaking ball. Margevicius just trying to mix in his changeup and his breaking ball a little bit more.
Down to second, and no tag by Margevicius at first base. Slipped a little bit. 2 outs, and Winker at first base.
And we'll take a look at Evan White. No problem for him. Margevicius gets off the mound in pretty good shape. I think the throw was behind him a little bit. He had to reach back, and that's when he ended up losing his footing. A dangerous play. I think he reaches back with his left hand. You certainly don't want to get stepped on. That throw behind him.
Looks like he's having a conversation maybe with Evan over there.
Probably.
2 outs for Senzel. Here comes Tom Murphy.
Just with a changeup right there, and Aaron, you were talking about Margevich just in the amount of fastballs that he would throw. He is clearly trying to mix it up the last 2 innings, throwing the breaking ball and the changeup a little bit more. He missed with the changeup right there.
Mike, today when I was visiting Nick's baseball reference page, they had him listed at 6'5", and my first thought was, Nick's not 6'5", and then I realized I've literally never stood next to him. He could be 6'8" for all I know.
That's a great point.
His first year with the Mariners last year, things being what they were, we were at a bit of a distance all season, of course, like we will be for much of this year, it seems like. 24 years old, 6'5", so they tell us. Won at least 5 innings in 5 of his 7 starts. Began the season in the bullpen. Nice start against the Astros to wrap up last year. You know, he was a big Jim Thome fan. We mentioned earlier that he's a native Clevelander. Thome was his guy as a kid. In fact, during his time with the Padres, his team prior to coming to the Mariners, he wore number 25 in Thome's honor. You can see the number on his back here. 25 was taken with the Mariners, so he just flipped it around and now proudly sports 52 in a Mariners uniform. Senzel into left field over Haggerty. Winker into second. 2 on, 2 out.
So far, he's given up 3 base hits, 2 of them when he's been behind in a count, a 3-1 count, and that was 3-0. And 2-0, he went with the curveball, missed with it. He's definitely working on mixing it up, and that's what spring training is for.
Jonathan India climbs in. Taken 5th overall in 2018 by the Reds out of the University of Florida. In fact, he was drafted 1 spot ahead of Jared Kelenic. As Mike, it looks like the rain is picking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's starting to.
Good news is,
rain in last night's ball game. The guys played a couple of innings in the rain.
Yeah, that did not look very pleasant over there against the Dodgers. Tomorrow looks like it'll be a little cool as well, but by the end of the week things should be reaching the 80s once again.
And I was just thinking that at the start of the game the flags in center field were blowing in. Now they're going out towards the right, but at the start of this game, because of the temperature and the flags blowing in, it was really the first game that was friendly for the pitchers, because it's been gusting straight out, as you mentioned, Aaron, 70 to 80 degrees every day. It was tough pitching.
The air into the corner in left field. Liberado having to chase it down. Winker comes around and scores. Senzel makes his way into third. It's 2-0 Cincinnati.
Another off-speed pitch, 84 miles an hour. It's down out of the strike zone. You can see him go to a knee to get the barrel to it. Pretty good hitting right there on an off-speed pitch.
Two outs, 2 in scoring position. Kyle Farmer, the batter. Like as you imagined was the case, Haniger scratched simply because of wet playing conditions. Good to see that. Nothing serious for Mitch Haniger.
Yeah, he has looked good this spring. He seemed to be ready to go. I thought, you and I were talking about it before the game, I thought that maybe be a little bit slower for him since he missed all that time, but his timing at the plate has been good. He looks really good in the outfield. Let's keep him healthy.
It really is remarkable that his timing is what it is given his layoff. If you think back, really it's the summer of 2019 the last time he was taking any real competitive swings. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really isn't. I know that people know that he can take batting practice, but it's a lot different when you're stepping in that box, and he's looked good.
Really, the Mariners, in essence, get two new players this year. Two players back when you look at Mitch and Tom Murphy, who missed all of last season as well. And these aren't just run-of-your-mill players. These are massive impact players, not only with what they do on the field, but the leadership that they bring as well, their presence in the clubhouse. Rung him up. Strike three called. Farmer caught looking. A run.
To hear you say, hopefully we'll get in 9, that has been something that has been a bit of a change this spring. Clubs can decide to play 6 innings, 7 innings, 8, 7.5 before the game gets started. So it's been a little bit strange to see them come out and play 7 innings, but they are scheduled to play 9 tonight. Also the rollover innings.
I was about to say the rollover innings is a brand new phrase for 2021 in spring training. Manager can cut bait after a certain period of time. Julio Rodriguez has been one of the great young stars in the minors. Leads off the bottom of the third. To many, a top 5 prospect across the game. Only 20 years old, Mike, although you would never guess it by looking at him.
Yeah, he's grown up. There's no question about that.
Takes outside. Just 20 years old, has not played past single A level in the minor leagues. You can see his minor league numbers over a grand scheme of things, small sample size. Made his way back home to the Dominican to play winter ball this offseason. Incredible that he had not played on U.S. soil until 2019, and what he was able to do in that season in a short period of time, making his way from West Virginia up to Modesto as he's retired to lead off the bottom of the third. He's the cover boy for the Baseball America Prospects Handbook this year. Was on the cover of a still somewhat recent Baseball America issue as well. One out for Donovan Walton.
With the pitchers making their second, maybe even third times through, one thing that changes fairly quickly in spring training is they'll start using the breaking ball and changeup more, and that's 2 breaking balls in a row to get ahead. Not just about building up their arm strength anymore.
Chop. Landino fires a seed to first base just in time.
He was trying to sell it that he was safe. The fans certainly didn't like it. We can hear the boos, which is kind of a nice thing to hear at the ballpark again.
Mariners feel about that. A year without the booze, they might have enjoyed it. Top of the order, Luis Liberato batting. Now Brandon Finnegan, the pitcher now for the Reds, part of some just fantastic niche trivia, Blow. He became the first player ever to appear in the College World Series and the World Series in the same year. TCU in college, and then just a matter of months later, he was pitching in the World Series for the Royals before being traded eventually to the Reds.
It's been months since I've heard niche.
Well, I know on your side of the cave, there's not great cell service or Wi-Fi, so you haven't heard much for the last few months, I know.
No, it's just hanging out with you, really.
1-2. Liberato skies this to left. Winker makes the easy catch. Finnegan retires the sign in order. Justin and Scott Service have both spoken openly about their exit interview last year at the end of the season. Scott was very honest with Justin Dunn and very truthful, saying that his spot in the rotation in 2021 was not a guarantee. They told him that the Mariners would be pursuing free agent starting pitching as this gets past Donovan Walton and trickles into right field. Stevenson is on base. What looked like would have been out number one.
I think you're right about that. It looked like a fairly routine ground ball. Kind of got in that in-between hop. You can see him get set a little bit early. You have to keep moving your feet, and right off the heel of his glove.
Results in a leadoff base runner. Well, the Mariners did exactly that, Mike. They signed James Paxton, as we all know. Chris Year signed to a 2-year deal. Aquino pops this up. Evan White with gold on his glove this year in foul ground. He's on number one. And to Dunn's credit, he seemed well aware of most, if not all, of the things that Scott was telling him in that exit interview, and said that even though he knew these things, it did light a fire under him, and he knew that he needed to get in better shape, and he needed to undergo some changes in his diet. He has cut out cheese and eggs, which both seem fairly vital to day-to-day existence.
I would agree.
He is a proud New Yorker, so he has had to give up pizza, which also seems vital for daily existence. We'll be talking to Scott at the bottom of this fourth inning. Fastball at 94.
And he's topped out at 95 so far. You look at Dunn. It's great that he's done all those things, and now his velo is up. But can he command the strike zone with his fastball? At times that was a problem for him. It's pretty good so far here tonight.
He actually found out that he was allergic to eggs and cheese. And you talk about his velo. During his days at Boston College, when he became a first-round draft pick by the Mets, he was pumping 95 to 98 when he made his debut against the Reds back in 2019. The back end of that season, in very limited innings, he was averaging about 92 miles an hour on his fastball. Last year he was averaging roughly 91 miles an hour on his fastball. So a small decrease, but not a trend in the right direction, needless to say. So him throwing 94 to 95 is not totally uncharted waters for Justin Dunn, but it has been a little while. And it seems like getting some strength in his lower half in particular, Mike, and getting a full off season, a normal off season to train and get a long toss program in is doing him a world of good.
Well, I think, and I believe the hope would be that because of the velocity going up for him, maybe he'll be more aggressive in the strike zone with his fastball, which obviously is going to help his breaking ball. And that fastball, 95 miles an hour, tied him up. Late swing.
Another payoff. Into the gap. Kyle Lewis having to chase after it. Stevenson hits the bag at third and makes it 3-0 Cincinnati. A leadoff error comes all the way around to score. Justin Dunn, 25 years old. Picked up his first big league win last year in Arlington against the Rangers. Lowest opposing average of any Mariners starter. And you can see how he finished so strong. An ERA pushing 8 in his first 4 starts and then settled in over his final 6. 2.64. First pitch, strike to Cuthbert. Walton to Seager. Haggerty gets the tag down. Blandino out number 2.
Well, this is a play that they'll work on throughout spring training. Timing plays, you'll see them work on it on the backfields, and usually it's the shortstop that will put it on, and was well timed. Kyle trying to run him down, and then the speed of Haggerty able to catch him.
You clearly meant the speed of Seager.
Of course.
1 ball and 1 strike. Base is now empty, 2 away. Planning on visiting with Scott Service when we get to the bottom of this 4th inning. As he's bundled up for the 2nd straight night. Jammed him a bit. Full count to Cuthbert.
Foul ball ever, bro.
Came up inside again. We apologize for the language down on the field. We can't wait till we have full ballparks again, whenever that time is right. Julio drifting.
Chilly here tonight. I will say it feels a little bit more like Seattle than it does Peoria right now, but we're doing okay.
Scott, we have been talking already on the telecast tonight how happy, how grateful we are that fans will be coming back to T-Mobile Park as soon as opening day. I know this is something that you talked about over the course of last season, how much you and your players and your staff missed the fans. Your reaction, your players' reaction when this news became public.
Obviously really excited to try to get back to some normalcy, and you know, we were very fortunate to get to play any games at all last year, but it just wasn't the same with you know, having the fans in the stands and the electricity that they bring every night. So we're excited about it, and hopefully, you know, we started, it sounds like 25% or so. Hopefully we can grow you know, throughout the season and we can get back to normal. But big thing right now is getting this club ready for the stretch run. You know, it's 162 games, and we haven't played that in a little while. So, you know, we got our work cut out for us to get everybody ready to go.
Hey, Scott, you know, you mentioned the 162. Last year you had the 60 games, and you guys did a terrific job of keeping people healthy and, you know, staying with the protocols. Is anything going to be different this year now that you're playing 162?
No. We're going to start out with the same type of stuff like we have in spring training. You know, guys are getting tested every other day. We actually have tracking devices that we have to have on us all the time when we're at the clubhouse. So, you know, if somebody does come down with a positive test, they can go back and contact trace that. So, you know, as we've gotten to know more on how to deal with this stuff and learning more from the other leagues, certainly, you know, what basketball and the NFL have done, you know, MLB has added to the protocols. We're just trying to be safe and making sure we can complete a season.
Full count to Luis Torrens DHing tonight. Scott, you said since day one of camp this year that you love this team. You were very emphatic about that. Can you expand on that a little bit and tell us some of the reasons why?
Well, I really like how this group is wired, and I think they you know, we've got the core group of young guys led by a few veterans that are playing huge roles in our clubhouse. But it's nice. Oh boy, I ball it high. Sorry. It's nice to have the same group back again. You know, it seems like every year you come into spring training, we've had a lot of turnover, you know, as we've tried to mix and match our roster. But, you know, we have a group right now that we can grow with. There's young players that are very hungry, high energy level every day, and it's really focused on getting better as they all got things to work on in their game. So it's a fun group to be around, and they really work their tail off, you know, very focused every day.
I imagine you have to be happy. We've seen Mitch Haniger this spring. You have Tom Murphy behind the plate, so it seems like you picked up a couple of new players, the guys that weren't around.
And no doubt, and they both look great. And actually, you know, Hanny was in the lineup today, and, you know, we had the late rain here, and we're going to give him another day off. He'll be back in there tomorrow, but they're swinging the bat well. It's great to have them back on the club, and it is like kind of like signing two new free agents. But fortunately, we've got track record with these guys, and they fit in great.
Scott, one of the obvious storylines tonight, your two pitchers. We've seen Justin Dunn now, Nick Margevicius before that. These are two guys who are battling out for the number 6 spot in your rotation. Whether it be Margevicius and Dunn or any position player, how do you and your staff go about measuring results in spring training? Results are not always true to form in Arizona. What's the process of trying to look past just the obvious numbers?
Yeah, you can't really get too caught up in the stat sheet, you know, in spring training. It is a smaller sample size, so, you know, you're taking, you know, looking into what guys have worked on in the offseason, what they're focused on in spring training, and certainly with those two pitchers we're talking about, both vying for the 6th, you know, spot in our rotation. You know, we've seen big jump in both their stuffs. You know, we see Dunny throwing the ball harder, and his breaking balls have gotten a lot sharper. Marge is really, you know, tightening up his secondary pitches, so he's going to be more effective, you know, as we get deeper into the season. So you're trying to really focus on the process and what they're going about, and are they making the necessary adjustments that are going to allow them to have success in the regular season. Not so caught up in the results here, as oftentimes down in Arizona in the Cactus League, you can get some days like we have where the wind is blowing straight out, and it seems like every ball that goes in the air goes out of the ballpark. So again, can't get too caught up in a stat sheet, but look at how this stuff is coming out and how they're going about their daily work.
Scott, as you probably have heard, Justin Dunn has had to give up pizza. This is no longer a part of his diet. Can you tell me, Scott, what's the one food that there's no way Scott Service could live without?
I don't know. There's maybe a few. I think people know where I'm from. I grew up in Wisconsin, so it's you know, the cheese and the bratwurst is something that we try to stay away from. But no, it's everybody's got their vices, and you know, Dunny's looked great this spring. He's in great shape, and looking forward to him to get.
Pitch missing low to D. Strange Gordon. Leadoff batter tonight for David Bell, former Mariner, skipper of the Reds.
Oh boy, D.
Our thanks to Scott Service for joining us in the bottom of the fourth. One and two. Now, this was before the game. Kyle Lewis, D. Strange Gordon meeting during warm-ups. A couple of friends reunited. I've concluded, Mike, that I wish I looked half as good in anything as Kyle Lewis looks in a baseball uniform.
I think I would agree with you on that. Absolutely. And you're right, too. You don't.
I mean, I try daily. Ooh, there's a funny swing and a miss.
Pretty good breaking ball right there. 83 miles an hour. This is what Scott Service was talking about, just how much sharper the breaking ball is along with the velocity of the fastball.
Leadoff man retired. Mike, as I am efforting daily to look half as good as Kyle Lewis, you mind telling us what exactly was going on when you and I were talking on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I just kept losing you, the call kept dropping, and I thought maybe
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Mike was in like this eternal tunnel or was driving across some faraway lake, and honest to goodness, every 30 seconds, call drop, call Mike back, he picks up. 30 seconds later, call drop, call Mike back, he picks up. This went on many times, Mike. What was that all about?
We couldn't even get through the first spring game. That's great. Nope, you're on your own there.
Apparently Mike had some newfangled technology that no doubt Nicole bought for him, his lovely wife, as this is foul. Mike was utilizing something that most people are well accustomed to, and that is some type of earpiece when speaking on the phone. Mike didn't know that when his mammoth gorilla hands touched this device in his ear that it automatically hung up on him. And it took Mike roughly 10 minutes and 12 dropped calls to realize the correlation between him touching the device and it hanging up the phone call automatically. Is that about right, Mike?
It just kept wanting to fall out of my ear.
Check swing. He does not go. That was close.
Another good breaking ball, just buried it in the dirt.
Good. Dunn thought so as well.
That was a strike. Yeah, he missed it. That was a good pitch. Set him up for it. Right on the inside corner. 94 miles an hour, and they get the call.
Cut on and missed. Rips through a 95-mile-an-hour heater.
Well, he challenged him. Jerry mentioned 95 right after him, and it's a late swing. He's definitely found something.
Now, this is velo like we have not seen from Justin Dunn in a Mariners uniform. Senzel climbs in. Another storyline for Justin Dunn, Mike, is him tinkering with his changeup, trying to make that more of a consistent pitch. He said that this offseason, if you can believe it, he blended the grips of 3 of the great changeup artists of all time. Pedro Martinez, Trevor Hoffman, and Frank Viola, who he had a chance to spend some time with during his time with the Mets. So he has kind of done a hybrid grip of the 3 and has found something that he feels is pretty comfortable in his hand that he believes can be an effective pitch at this level.
Yeah, even with the increased velocity that he has, and we've seen his breaking ball tonight, if you're going to be a starter, you have to have more than those 2 pitches, and the changeup is something that I think will really help him a lot.
We mentioned earlier his final 6 starts of last season. The numbers were fantastic, just over 30 innings, a 2.64 ERA, nearly a strikeout per frame. The walks, no doubt, higher than he or Scott Service would like to see. Balls and 2 strikes to Senzel. When you think about,
he's really starting to feel it now. That fastball right there at 96 miles an hour, and again riding it in on the right-handers. As the season moves on, if he's continuing to do that, it'll open up the outer half of the plate for his breaking ball.
We've seen a sharp one already tonight. Full count now. Margevich is starting tonight's game, working 3 innings. This is the 2nd frame for Dunn. Missing away with 94. 2-out walk. Well, for Craig Kaiser of Kelso, Mariners baseball means great memories and trips to the ballpark with his wife, Carrie. And tonight, the Mariners would like to thank Craig and Carrie for being a season ticket member since way back when it all started in 1977. We look forward to seeing Craig and Carrie back in section 120 sometime very soon. For information on season ticket memberships, visit mariners.com/21. India, quick skipper to third. Seager the short way. And that wraps up the top of the 5th. Couple of strikeouts and a man stranded.
Kids.
Evan White, a comebacker here to start the 5th inning. And last September, to have them connect with the players. Can you tell us what that was like, kind of a surprise for them?
Yeah, so Justin he gave me a hard time for crying on all of those calls. But if you watch them, they're very touching. What we did was we told the kids that they were getting a final interview for the program. And then I said, oh, I have one more guest, which happened to be Kyle Lewis or Justin Dunn or Justice Sheffield. And that's when the kids finally felt like it was real. And just to have a big leaguer acknowledge them, acknowledge that they understand what they're going through was huge. And it was incredible to witness.
And what's great about the players is it's not just them saying hello as they sit here to right center, not just that phone call or that Zoom meeting was one and done. Is hustling into second base and safe there at second. I mean, Tom Murphy is there at second base. And D. Gordon give him a little hard time there. But these players, they became so involved in these kids, and it's kind of a really great part, I think, fans
advocating to our leadership why it's not only important for us to show BIPOC youth that we support them, that we encourage them to pursue collegiate baseball and softball, but also to show why it's necessary. If we want our game to grow, if we want our fan base to grow, we have to make it more accessible for everyone, and that's what this program is intended to do.
And you also mentioned that not just the players are helping mentor them. You're a mentor yourself. A lot of people in the front office are helping out, which is cool to see them step up as well.
Yes, that's probably my most favorite part of the program is that I get to work with what now is 18 mentors. Mandy Lincoln is my mentor with Tyson. But we have 18 folks in our front office who are dedicated to these kids, dedicated to their professional and personal development, and who are learning with them. We have representatives from marketing, from community relations, baseball operations. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other departments, sales, marketing, merchandise. So it's really a good representation of all of us in the front office who are lucky enough to have our dream jobs, and we want these kids to be able to have it someday too.
And what I think is helpful for these kids, I mean, obviously they want to play in the big leagues like they're Mariner heroes. There's a shot to right field there. But odds are that they're probably not.
Right.
But what you guys do, you get them in line with these major leaguers so they know how difficult it is, and they talk with them, which is great. But then you've also provides a lot of these resources and programs to get them ready for college essays prep, get them ready for life in general.
Will be so important. So yeah, I'm so excited to watch them grow up. Some of the boys are already taller than me, and I'm 5'10", so there was a lot of dunking going on in the clubhouse.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I haven't been in the clubhouse. There is a little makeshift mini hoop that the guys play. So a lot of dunking going on.
There's a lot of dunking.
And talk about some of the experiences they've had. I know it was been difficult with COVID and 2020 restrictions. They haven't met the players in person, but they were still able to go to the clubhouse and see some things.
Yeah, so we surprised them a little bit with the mentor meet and greet. So they haven't met their mentors yet, and I think they think their mentors are equally, maybe not equally, but up there as cool as the players. So they were excited to do that, but what we did is we brought them into the ballpark. We hung their jerseys in our clubhouse. We switched the nameplates so they felt like a big leaguer. And they got to meet their mentors, which was so fun to watch them interact with each other. I made our mentors paint, get out those creative juices we haven't used since elementary school. But yeah, we're looking forward to welcoming the kids. Our first in-person event will be in April when it's safe to do so. So I'm excited about that. But each event we're doing is centered around a different theme. So April is mental health. We'll do one that's centered around nutrition and fitness. And we'll do one this year for the 8th graders that are going into high school, because that's kind of a tough transition. And then at the end of the year, we're doing like a welcome dinner on the field, which should be very exciting. Like a mini prom.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I know.
You're going to get emotional.
I think I'm mostly excited for it.
I bet. And it's great that they're able to get out a little bit. It's great that there's fans at the park. And you mentioned it's a 5-year program, 8th grade through the end of high school. But my guess is that by that time, you're going to be so attached to these kids that you're going to be in their lives forever.
I hope so. That would be the privilege of a lifetime. These kids have made every day that I've worked here since we started this program 10 times better. And there's so many things I love about this program, but really that it was a collaboration between our players and front office members in a way that we haven't been able to develop a program before. I am so excited about this team on the field, and I wish that every fan could feel how excited I am about them when they are off. I can't say enough good things about this team, and all of that is just compounded by the character that they all have.
And it's somewhat difficult, as you know. We were talking earlier, you haven't met some of these players in person. The same with myself, I haven't either. Yeah. And getting them to help out and getting them involved via online interviews. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but they've been willing to do it.
I'll tell you, it has been so easy working with these guys. They have made it a priority. I was texting with Justin earlier today about the program and, how can I help? Let's start a group chat. Everything, it matters to them. And what's so special about this team is they're not just willing to say what matters to them or willing to stand up or against something, but they're actually taking action to do something about it, which is, in my opinion, so refreshing and unique. So yeah, hasn't been as difficult as you'd think. They've been wonderful to work with.
And Justin and Kyle Lewis, big sneakerheads. They've got hundreds and hundreds of pairs of shoes, which I think is ridiculous. But anyway, and you were telling me one of the kids in Hometown 9, Kyle's guy, he's a big sneaker guy, and he actually got some cleats that he's doctoring up a little bit?
That's right. So we have a sneakerhead, Tyson, who's my fellow, was born with half a heart. One of his hobbies is painting sneakers, cleats. I'm trying to get into that world so I can relate to him a little bit more. He did get matching shoes as me, though, so I feel very, very great about that. But Kyle had a bond with this little guy over Jordans. So Kyle's a Jordan guy. He sent him cleats for the upcoming season, and Tyson is actually hand painting them. I won't blow with the surprises.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to wear them batting practice sometime on the field, right?
Yeah, I'll make sure to ask him about it. But Tyson's excited about it. He's a little bit nervous. I think it's a lot of pressure to be designing the AL Rookie of the Year's cleats, but I was like, anything you do, he'll love. Have at it.
There's a shot there of Mr. Lewis.
There he is.
It's good to see and great to see, obviously, the involvement. If people want to know more about this or read more about this, where can they get info on Hometown 9?
Yeah, so on our site, mariners.com/onbase, that's our hub for all things youth baseball and softball. I think it's /hometown9, mariners.com/hometown9. I could be wrong on that. But if you need to go to our general directory, it's mariners.com/onbase. There you'll have information about the Hometown 9, our Grand Slam camps, our partnerships to make baseball and softball equitable and accessible across Pacific Northwest. One-stop shop, all there for you.
And hopefully with the opening of phase 3 and our state opening up, hopefully that helps you guys in your programs and get out there in the community, which is so important to you and your organization. I'm hoping that's easier this year.
Yeah.
With everything and everybody.
So too. I think safety first, obviously that's our top priority. But our kids are it's so evident that they're in need of physical activity, that their mental health has been suffering just like adults have. And maybe they just don't know how to express that yet. So for me, my outlet was always athletics or watching baseball since I couldn't play it. But yeah, we're so excited to be able to have kids out on fields. I miss walking, passing a Little League field and seeing kids play a game.
We see Donnie Walton.
You're right, and Mackenzie, thank you for stopping by tonight and sharing with all of us all the good work that the Hometown 9 is doing. What a wonderful program that is, such creativity to get that off the ground, so much hard work and dedication from so many members of the front office, as Mackenzie was speaking about, and the players. Takes their buy-in and their commitment as much as anything. So wonderful work being done by so many people within the organization. As the Mariners get their first run tonight, they've got a couple of men on base with 2 outs. Luis Liberato, Mariners leadoff hitter tonight, batting with Walton at first and Julio at second.
The base hit was well done by Walton. Perez on the mound has touched 96 miles an hour with a pretty hard breaking ball. He ended up getting a breaking ball middle away and lining it into left center. That fastball at 95, a little bit late on the swing.
Two and two. A full count. He's able to get out of it, striking out Liberato, and the Mariners strand 2. They do get their first run of the night. On the hill, his 3rd inning of work.
And he's looked good. He stopped out at 95 miles an hour. Hard breaking ball. Just a couple of changeups from him so far.
It's got to be such a hard line to balance if you're somebody like Justin Dunn or Nick Margavich's, Mike, where you are wanting to use these innings as a way to perfect, in this case, a particular pitch and to get better, but knowing that that pitch could also be a liability. After all, you're needing to work on it, compete, and win a job. I'm not sure exactly how a player goes about balancing that line perfectly.
It's changed a little bit, I think, just because of the information and the communication that they have with the manager and the pitching coach. In the past, this situation here that we're talking about, working on stuff isn't going to happen. That's what the bullpen is for. They're trying to compete for a job, and it's serious business. But I think if Scott wants him to throw X amount of changeups, it'll also be on Murphy to make sure he calls that many. And I think if the changeup gets hit, they'll let him know that's okay. Let's continue to throw it and not count it against him. So in other words, the overall numbers aren't going to matter as much. He wants to see the life of his fastball. Can he command the strike zone? And if it is the changeup, which it is for him, his third pitch, we want to see it X amount of times.
Ground ball finds a hole up the middle. Stevenson, a one-out single. It's funny you bring that up, Mike. Which Scott was talking about how one of the benefits of having back-to-back night games is that they've had more meeting time during the day the last couple of afternoons. And today, Scott sat in on a meeting between all the Mariners catchers, the catching coaches, and the pitching coaches, talking about each of the starters in particular and what they're seeing and what they're hoping to get from each starter in the back half of spring training. Scott, of course, as a former catcher in particular, loves sitting in on those when he has the opportunity, but trying to get feedback from the catchers, from a guy like Tom Murphy, who has seen so much and knows these pitchers so well. And so I'm sure in part along the lines of what you're just talking about, Mike, to say, you know, Tom, in this case, we need to see X number of this pitch from Dunn tonight. As this finds Evan White, a quick step on the bag, and it hits Stevenson as he slides into second. 2 outs.
Yeah. A rare mistake from Evan White at first base. Didn't quite give himself a throwing lane and hits him right in the back. He takes one step inside to where the grass is. He has a clear lane. They put the tag on him. But you're right with Tom Murphy. That's another reason why Scott likes to have him back. I mean, his offense has been really good, but the fact that he has been able to go and take over those meetings and probably help the other catchers along the way also, and that's the reason why, as young as his staff is going to be, it's critical to keep him healthy this year. And Tom is somebody that Scott probably wouldn't have to say anything to him. He'll just go out to the mound and let him know we're throwing the changeup here.
I'll let him know with those wild eyes of his.
Yeah, if he told me to throw the changeup, I'd throw the changeup.
I'd walk on glass if Tom Murphy came up to me and told me that. Ball and a strike to Blandino. Ricochets off his glove, and nobody can get back to the bag in time as White fields it. Unfortunately, Justin Dunn appears to be all right.
Just able to get his glove up in time. Right back at him. One hopper, and that was right at his face. So nice job of protecting himself. Be an infield hit.
Then steps Cuthbert. 2 outs, runners on the corners.
Again, this gets to you in a hurry. Wow, look at the way it had been backwards, too.
Timeout called. Two coming.
And another good fastball painted on the outside corner, right at the knees, 94 miles an hour. He has consistently for his 3 innings been at 94, 95.
Cuthbert doesn't chase.
Last couple of breaking balls just not as sharp.
I was going to say, Mike, judging by what we saw from Scott Service in the background there a couple of pitches before, you get the sense this might be the final batter for Justin Dunn this inning. This is well wide, a full count. Fastball to 93.
So potentially your first rollover inning here. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
We'll be joined by Jerry Dipoto in the bottom half of this 6th inning. Cut out and missed. What a way to finish the top of the 6th. Good breaking ball. Justin Dunn strands a pair with 2 people on television in 2 different states. So I'm going to let Mike lead off for us here, and then I'm gonna close things down. So Mike, take it away with Jerry.
Okay, well, I think the first thing that I want to know about Jerry, and I believe it has to be a record. You have 75 guys in camp, and I thought that, I'm like, what is he doing? 72 is a lot. Then you add more. What's going on with all that? The more the merrier. The more the merrier. I know you've added some young pitchers in the camp.
We did, you know. So with the COVID protocols, each team was maxed out at 75. So, you know, we came into camp with 72, allowing ourselves enough flexibility that if we saw the potential to add somebody in camp that might make a difference or could make a run at the team, we'd leave ourselves that opportunity. And when that didn't really transpire, we just picked the next 3 pitchers that we thought were future impact players and give them as much exposure now as we can.
So will we see them?
I don't know if we're going to see them in an A game just because of where they are in their throwing programs, but we thought it was worth giving them the opportunity to go through the experience of a month in big league camp. And if we can get them out there for an inning at the end of the spring training cycle, then we'll do that.
Yeah, some competition going on for that 6th spot in the rotation. Both of them throwing tonight. What'd you think?
I thought they both looked great, and really that was the case in their first outing. You know, Marge, his velocity's up a little bit. He's been operating 91, 92. He's always been a great strike thrower. But I think one of the great revelations in camp thus far has been, you know, the transformation of Justin Dunn's stuff. Tonight he was 93 to 97. We see the good slider, and it's we're still waiting for the polish on that changeup. But what he's been able to do physically and to put those kind of power pitches together in the fastball slider it's so exciting to see, and such a different look than what he had going last year.
You're perfect to ask this question. Aaron asked me last inning about it, but when you have 2 young pitchers competing for a spot and they have to work on a changeup or something else, how do you guys manage that to get them to throw for Dunn to change up as many times you want tonight in 3 innings, but he's still trying to compete for a job.
You know, it's a real stressor, you know, and when we walk through their off-season plans with them, you know, when we go through their player plan on the way home in the off-season, that's what they're left with. And Justin particularly went home and he experimented with a number of different grips on his changeup and really worked hard on it through the off-season. And the result is he came in here in camp, and at least in his first outing, it was a really good pitch for him. And in the bullpens, it's been a really positive development. So we're seeing improvement. But when you send them out there for the game, you just want them to use their best weapons and go compete, because they are trying to make a club, and you don't want to hold them back.
Yeah, that has to be difficult for them at times too, because they're watching each other as they go along too. So I was just kind of wondering about that. Somebody that's interesting to me, I didn't know much about him. I had a chance to watch him pitch last night, Chris Flexen. I thought he looked really good. Tell us a little bit about him, and for especially the people who haven't seen him back home.
Flex is an interesting guy. You know, he's 4 pitches. He throws a lot of strikes. I think there's so much positive going on. And last night was the best we've seen him throw. It's been steady improvement, one outing after the next. And I think with Chris, he's got a changeup and a curveball that both really pop on our pitch grade system. Last night he was up to 95 miles an hour, typically operates around 92, 93, and he's got great plane on his fastball. And for reference to a former Mariner, I've referenced him as he's in the Doug Fister family tree. Okay. You know, there's a lot of similar traits to he and Doug Fister, and I hope it works out that well for us, because, you know, Doug had a great career.
Well, he looked good last night.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Jerry, Mike has pointed to me to tell me that it's now my turn. First of all, the first question I won't ask you.
You're a little closer to me than Blow is right now, Goldie, for whatever that's worth.
Well, my first question won't be, as Mike said, what are you doing? Just for the record, I'm gonna let Blow have that one. And second of all, did you notice that one of those questions was a question that I asked to him that he then turned around and asked to you, trying to, I mean, gave me some credit, but generally speaking, he tried to own that one completely.
You are a setup man, if ever there was one.
We, first of all, should make note that former Mariner Art Warren up on the mound working this inning for Cincinnati Reds. Good to see Art back up on the hill. Hey, Jerry, Mike and I have had a chance to talk casually a little bit about one of the real talking points in recent days, and really since day one, it sounds like internally for the ball club, and that is Taylor Trammell and what he's been able to do at the plate in particular, and him really becoming a serious candidate to open up in left field on opening day for your ball club. What have you seen exactly that has impressed you the most from Taylor?
Well, he's forced his way into the conversation. You know, I can't say that was naturally what we were thinking when we came to spring training, but you can't ignore what he's done. Taylor's a terrific athlete. He's really handled himself well in this camp, and he's acquitted himself well on the field. He's swinging the bat, he's running the bases, he's playing defense at multiple positions, and it's so fun to watch. He's a high-energy player and is a lot of fun to be around. And you know, right now you'd be hard-pressed to figure out how you were going to break camp with 26 players who are better than Taylor. But there's still a long way to go, but he's definitely put himself in a very favorable position.
Dylan Thomas now batting for the Mariners, taking over for Kyle Lewis. Jerry, as you and Scott talked about Kyle, we all know what he did last year, but what are the challenges that will face the reigning American League Rookie of the Year coming up in 2021?
I think the 162 game season, you know, Kyle was phenomenal in September of 2019. We all remember that first 10 days of his career, really just burst on the scene. His first 70 some odd games as a big leaguer, he has been outstanding. And this as his first 162 game season, you know, and I hope that that's the case, or expect that will be the case. That's going to be the challenge, is taking those ups and downs that are inevitable and stringing them together to become a consistent full season player. And you know, we know that Kyle has the tools, he's got the makeup, what we've now seen is the defense is very real for him, and I just think it's moving north for Kyle. And you know, that the 162 game season is going to be something that he's never experienced before. You know, that you don't play that long in Double-A, which is where he came from, and this will be a new challenge for him to face.
Runners advancing second and third now, and a full count to Dylan Thomas, who, at least on TV, Jerry, Dylan Thomas seems like he is 6'7". Is this true? He looks enormous inside the box.
I think he's 6'6.5", Aaron, but he's a particularly physical guy, and you know, I've been impressed by his athleticism since the day we got here. He's a super athlete.
One out, and Evan White will step inside the box for the Mariners. You know, Jerry, Evan is such an interesting guy to talk about simply because we obviously know what he does defensively. He's got the hardware to back it up. The underlying numbers, the numbers under the hood for him offensively suggest that there's plenty more there than what meets the eye in terms of the basic numbers that we saw last year. What's the next step forward offensively for Evan White in 2021?
I think it's just developing the confidence that we've seen intermittently in the batter's box. We know what he does defensively. I think, again, Evan's a solid base runner. The ancillary parts of his game are well developed, and we believe in the tools that he brings to hit every day. And we see it in batting practice, we see it in the consistency with his approach, and we see it in his batted ball profile. You know, Evan swings at the right pitches so often. He hits the ball really hard, and we feel like it's just a matter of time before that starts to translate into consistent success. And you know, I feel like it's going to happen. His makeup is too good, his work ethic is too good, and the skills are all there. There's no reason why it shouldn't happen for him.
Jerry, what's been on the grill recently at Casa de Poto in Peoria these early days of spring training?
Yeah, sadly, Goldie, nothing, because it's just me. You know, my wife Tammy and our dogs, they stayed back home, so you know, I'm flying solo. I just stay at the ballpark, and I get a late workout in. I eat my meals here. I think I've cooked twice since I've been down here because it's lonely cooking for one. I figured out, buying one sad tomato.
Oh, the tomato is your problem. I can tell you that right now. I'm sure you got some broccoli.
It was that or the broccolini. Yeah.
Well, you know, just for future reference, Jerry, I mean, Riz, Blowers, Sims, Hill, Goldsmith, we can socially distance anytime at your place around the grill, man. You know, it's just throwing that out there, okay?
There's ample space in the backyard at Chez de Poto. I'd be glad to swing by the grocery store. And that's as you know, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, just give Blowers my broccoli, Rob. Okay, that'll be perfectly okay. Hey, Jerry, it's been great visiting with you, man. Thanks for carving out some time for us tonight. Stay warm as Mariners are getting some runs with a little bit of help. We appreciate it, Jerry.
Anytime, guys. Thanks, Jerry.
Torrens, after being hit by a pitch, able to make his way around and scoring a wild pitch. One-run ball game. Full count to Evan White. Gets underneath it. In shallow right center. Play coming home at the plate. Not in time. We got a tie ball game.
Mariners are helped out. The center fielder, for some reason, called off the right fielder who was standing right in front of it. His momentum going towards the plate. You can see he had to spin all the way around. That may have been the difference of scoring this run. Normally, you'd let the right fielder take it.
Jansen Whitty appearing as a pinch runner, able to come around to score. Beg your pardon, Whitey. 2 outs, nobody on. There's Tom Murphy. Blow the inside joke with Jerry on the broccolini. I once asked him what his dream sandwich would be. Like, you can have any sandwich. You make this thing from scratch, whatever you want on it. And his dream sandwich had broccoli rabe on it. Which I think I speak for millions of people when I say that is incredibly offensive.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
See, I knew that. If I put broccolini right in front of you, you'd say I've literally never seen that before in my life. Fact. What is this? What is this long, skinny broccoli doing in front of me? And get it out of my face. Still 1-2 on Tom Murphy. An appeal does not go. Along the lines of food blow, this might surprise you. I asked Tom Murphy recently what his go-to binge food has been this offseason, since he is a beacon of fitness after all. I was thrilled to find out. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like mixing bowls full of it.
I'm shocked by that.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was going to be, whey protein or something. We've played 6. We got a tie ball game.
Curveball. He pitched in on right-hand hitters. He climbed the ladder. I mean, there's just times when he loses the count and you get caught, as a high fastball pitcher getting out over the plate with average fastball. So these are things that you either got to do one or two things. You got to be able to really locate your fastball better, or you got to throw more changeups. That's sort of the delicate balance. But we're talking about, a couple of outings into the spring. So for me, his rhythm looked good. He looked free and easy. He spun the ball pretty good. Good outing.
We see Eric Swanson, the righty, take over here in the top of the 7th inning, 3-3 tie. And then Justin Dunn gives up 1 run in his 3 innings. It looked like he tired a little bit in that 6th inning, but overall, your thoughts on Justin?
Well, they talked about how fit he looks. He looks really strong. His fastball velocity is up. And when he's able to get his fastball in the strike zone, with that breaking ball arsenal that he has, he's mighty tough. He gets ahead and he can wipe you out with the breaking ball. And we saw some good tilt on his curveball, good life on his fastball. Again, it's kind of the same thing with a lot of these young pitchers. If you can't locate your fastball and you get into bad counts, that's when you get hurt. A lot of four-seam pitching. That's the way they pitch now. So you have to throw a strike with a four-seamer where they're looking fastball. So he gave up the one where he gave up the error and the double. But I think overall, good rhythm, good stuff, lots to build on.
Yeah, just 3 hits and 3 strikeouts in his 3 innings. Here's Swanson with a strikeout here. He can ride that fastball up in the zone as well.
Again, a guy that can pitch to the top of the zone with big power. The problem again, if you lose the count, what do you do? He still needs to polish up his slider or his changeup a little bit more. And, it's the battle between, I'm a slider ball pitcher. Does that mean I want to two-seam the ball and pitch down? I'm a high fastball slider pitcher. I don't necessarily think that's a great combination. But, again, the top of the zone, the top of the zone, the top of the zone. It's strikeout or home run. That's the battle you fight.
I know it's chilly there, but if we look at Scott Heineman here, who's wearing a hoodie. Bill, if you were facing a guy wearing a hoodie, I don't know, you take offense to that on the mound? I don't know how you'd react to that.
I just think
seems a little silly.
He probably doesn't like to have his hands. He don't want to have that ball inside, probably.
We might have to go inside a little bit, right?
Oh, I think so. He's awfully cold.
Hey, go back to Dunn, and we saw. You mentioned in better shape, increased velo, sitting about 91 last year, hit 94, 95 tonight. With that increased velo, what can that do for him? What does that open up for him on the mound?
Well, just a little bit more margin for error, a little more space. More fastball, the hitter has to respect the fastball more. He can't just kind of sit breaking ball and look out over the plate. So the extra velocity is meaningful. Again, I like his curveball over his slider, so four-seam curveball, four-seam fastball. They work in sync better. You can hide your curveball better with that four-seamer. Yeah, it just gives you more to work with. It doesn't necessarily say I'm a better pitcher because, again, what's going to define these guys' success, particularly a guy like Justin Dunn, is not the walks have to come down, but it's also being able to pitch ahead and attack hitters. And you can't just get ahead and wipe guys out with breaking balls. You got to pitch in and out with the fastball.
You mentioned the walks have to come down. Take a look at the last 6 starts of the year last year for him. 3-0 record, a lot of those versus Texas. A 2.64, 30 innings, strikeouts good at 29, but 20 walks. I mean, even with the good numbers you mentioned, that has to come down.
You just can't try to pitch for strikeouts. Yeah, even as he finished his outing, he had a 3-2 breaking ball to end the inning, and it was off the plate breaking ball, and he got the swing and miss. Sometimes he doesn't.
And we got 3 outs there by.
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing very well. We appreciate you coming on right after you get done with your innings of work tonight. First of all, we saw the velo rush up there just like it has been early on this spring. The breaking ball, of course. How did you feel tonight?
I felt good. Felt a little weird coming out of the bullpen. Routine was a little different, but I felt pretty good. Felt like the ball was jumping out a little bit, and slider was really good. Curveball was today and didn't really get a chance to throw the changeup, but overall I'm pretty happy with it.
Now Mike and I were talking about this. We talked to your manager and also to Jerry about the dynamics of competing for a spot, but also wanting to work on, in your case, a certain pitch possibly. How do you balance that act when you're out on the mound, when you're wanting to experiment and tinker a little bit, but you know that you want to have some results as well?
When you get out there in between the lines, it's compete. At the end of the day, it's go get outs and compete because, like you said, you're fighting for a job, and all the pitch shaping stuff and pitch design stuff, we'll take care of that during the week and just allow it to come out on the field and let the minor changes happen over time. But when you get in the game, it's go compete and get outs.
If you go back to when you made your debut at the tail end of 2019, you barely had a chance to work with Tom Murphy, really, in the grand scheme of things, before the season came to a close. And then last year, Tom was out for the whole year, so now you're reunited with him. What's it like working with Murph once again?
Amazing. I mean, Murph is awesome. He instills so much confidence in me, and he's so dedicated to his homework and everything he does behind the scenes to put the quality product out on the field. And just having him back there and being engaged every single pitch, I love it. Talking in between innings, so super fortunate to have him, and can't wait to work with him this year.
Is he just a little scary? Just a little scary, even when he's on your side?
No. Very scary. My first pen of camp, I threw to him, and whenever you throw to Murph, you got to be dialed in because if you're missing spots, he's going to get on you a little bit. But rightfully so. He puts so much work into his plan and everything. If you can execute pitches, his plan runs smoothly. So rightfully so. But he's an awesome guy.
Justin, I was so impressed with your quotes, your comments at the end of last season, reflecting on the end of last season, I should say, in your exit interview with Scott and company, and your words in essence that you knew what was coming in that conversation. You knew that they would tell you that there were things that they wanted you to work on and that there would be competition, and that you used it as motivation, of course, to get better. What was your offseason like? We know you've made a lot of changes, some of which we documented, but I'd like to hear from your mouth.
Yeah, like I said earlier, nobody's a harder critic on myself than me. So going in, I knew there was a lot of work that had to be done, some life changes that had to be made. If this is what I wanted to do for my career, and stick here and have a successful career here. So made some nutritional changes, got back in the weight room with my strength coach from home, TJ Lopez, who I've worked with since I was in college, who was also in conversation with the team, and just kind of streamlined everything together through the team and what I was doing at home, and made sure we were on the same page and really hit the ground running. But the big thing was definitely the nutrition.
So tell me that this isn't true. You no longer eat pizza.
I no longer eat pizza. That is true, man. It's devastating. But the results are paying off, so I'll skip out on a slice or two to have the velo be where it's at right now for sure.
Well, Haggerty picked off at first base. Quick move. And out number 1. Yeah, as we were talking about, Justin, I mean, this is velo that, although we haven't seen it from you in your time in a Mariners uniform, or shortened season, and then the very tail end of 2019, you have used these weapons before in your career, even if you go back to your final days as an amateur at Boston College. What is it like for you to be driving with that kind of velocity once again?
It's good to have Justin Dunn back out on the mound. I'll say that. It allows. I'm a big competitor. I like to look at each at bat kind of as a fight. So to have my weapons back and be able to fight and have the confidence in my stuff is awesome. So I'm very fortunate and blessed to have that back. God is good, and hopefully we can keep it up through 162.
Now tell me about this changeup grip, because it sounds to me like you mashed up, 3 essentially Hall of Fame changeup grips and made them your own. Can you walk us through this?
Yeah, like I said, God is good, man. It was actually pretty funny. I was driving in the car one day and just kind of had some quiet time. Pedro, Hoffman, and then, or 2 Hall of Famers, Pedro, Hoffman, and then one of the best changeups via closer, lefty closer, and John Franco when I was with the Mets, and Frank Viola. And he said, take all 3 and blend them together. So I started with the 2-seam changeup that Franco and Viola told me. And then Hoffman threw kind of a palm ball. So I took that and took the 2-seam grip, kind of rolled it to the back of my hand to make a palm ball. And from my conversations with Pedro, and took his little tip and offset the ball a little bit. And of course, it felt comfortable in my hand because that was what I was destined to throw, I guess. So that's kind of what we've been working on, having another 4th pitch, even if it's not a lethal option right now. Have a pitch that we can get on the plate and have another weapon that these hitters have to respect in their pregame meetings.
No, you can't just humble brag, slide that in like you did my conversations with Pedro. Now, come on, where did this happen?
Again, God is good, man. When I was with the Mets, one of the guys I worked with, Guy Conti, he was very close with Pedro, and he helped him with his changeup along the way. And it actually started before I got to the Mets. I got drafted, and the night after I got drafted, I went to dinner at an Italian restaurant in Miami with my catcher, and of course, who's sitting outside but Pedro. And my dad was like, go talk to the man. And I went to talk to him, and he gave me his number there, and we started talking a little bit. I was a little hesitant to reach out to Pedro. You never want to waste his time or feel like you're bugging him, but he's an amazing guy. And then I have a mutual friend of Pedro from home, and got a chance to meet him again at Boston College. He was speaking at our baseball night, and so I got there early, and my coach put us in a room, and we talked for about an hour and a half, had a baseball, talking grips, talking mindset, everything. And so I'll send him some video in the offseason to look at, and he's amazing.
Julio draws a walk. So even to this day, you're sending him video in the wintertime?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's remarkable.
But yes, sir.
Sure, absolutely. That's amazing. What a great story. I had no idea. Hey, as we just saw Julio up there, man, we've got the Mariners have some players, and you're on that young wave who's already made it to the majors. We've got the Mariners have other players like Julio who their time is coming. When you look at the Mariners, since you have come into the organization, and that trade that brought you and Kelnick and company over from the Mets was obviously a major piece of the whole puzzle. What is your kind of view as all these pieces are now kind of starting to come together as to what this organization is looking like now and where you project it to be in a couple of years?
I mean, excitement, I guess, is the big word to say it. I mean, you said it yourself. You look at Julio and then what Jared brings to the table, and then Gilbert, and I got to see Emerson Hancock throw today, and Williamson and Kirby, and we got some studs coming, man, and I'm super excited to see them come up and help this club out, and with the guys we already have, and having guys take the next step this year and be able to help the team with guys who are already up. I think we're going to have a pretty good recipe for some success. When that's going to happen, I don't know, but I'm very excited for the future.
Taken off into center field. Julio thinking about it, but will stay put at second. Justin, I'm assuming you're aware that Julio has his own essentially TV show, made-for-TV YouTube program. You're aware of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The J-Rod show.
Yeah, vibing with J-Rod. Now, Emerson was on the show, and Logan Gilbert was on the show. Is he as big of a cut up and a ham? Because he is hysterical on vibing with J-Rod. Julio, that is. Is he every bit of that in the clubhouse?
Julio, Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that personality is infectious, man. It's amazing to see from somebody that young, and he just enjoys this game. And every chance he gets to be around the clubhouse and be around the guys and play, he's smiling from ear to ear. So I love him. I'm gonna have him help me with some Spanish and stuff, but I love him, man. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Justin, we appreciate you spending so much time with us, man. We've been so impressed and enjoyed watching your results so far here in spring training and your process. We're happy to see things are trending in the right direction for you. So thanks for being with us tonight.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Justin Dunn, kind enough to be with us, bundled up inside the dugout. Julio's at second base, 1 out. And Mike, when people check out the Vibin' with J-Rod show, which can be found easily on the Mariners YouTube channel, it is honest to goodness laugh out loud funny. He has an incredibly infectious personality, especially for somebody as young as he is, interacting with peers and acting on essentially center stage and very comfortable with it. It's pretty remarkable.
You could even see it here tonight when he was at the plate. He was laughing, having a great time out there at second base. He's really enjoying himself, and why not? He has a ton of talent.
One of my favorite things
to say, when you were talking to Don, I have to tell you, all of that was great, and we talked about a bunch of it earlier in the game. But when I just can't imagine somebody, Pedro Martinez is sitting at a restaurant, and you're just going to go walk up there and start talking to him. That's impressive to me.
Incredible, and that is
incredible.
I mean, he clearly is picking his spots and not overusing that relationship, as we could tell by the way he was talking about it. But what a incredible contact.
Yeah.
Eric Falia now batting. 2 outs. Julio at third.
I mean, I think when I was at his stage in my career, trying to make a big league club and all of that, if I would have walked, I don't know, I was in Kansas City and I saw George Brett sitting there, there's no way I would have gone up and said anything to him. I was just really impressed with that.
Well, we know a lot about Justin Dunn. One of the things that we've known since day one, Mike, is he carries himself like a guy who's been in this business for a long time and is mature beyond his years. And there's no doubt, no surprise that he made a good impression on one of the greatest pitchers of all time in such a casual setting, as the count goes to 2-2. Mariners have the go-ahead run at third base with 2 outs. Into left field. Julio scores from third. Falia puts the Mariners in front with 2 away in the 7th inning.
And for Falia, it's a fastball out over the plate. Pretty good fastball, too, 95 miles an hour. Sharp line drive into left field. Clutch base hit with a couple of outs.
Josh Morgan climbs inside the batter's box. Bats for Liberato, top of the order. Check swing, little dribbler, and that retires the side. Falia.
Talk some offense, but while we got Batista there coming out of the pen, let's talk about him. And again, a guy with just a huge arm that we saw last year. If he figures things out, reins things in, can throw strikes consistently, he's going to be a weapon out of that bullpen.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that's in the upper 90s. and just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And some of that is part of pitching, and the other part of it is just cleaning up your delivery. And so it'll be kind of interesting to watch to see if the angles that he's taking toward home plate, and if he's staying straight toward home plate and not throwing across his body. Those are good indicators that you clean up your delivery, you got a better chance of staying in one piece. And like you said, landing strikes and then having something to rub the guy out once you get the 2 strikes. And it's a bullpen that's wide open. I mean, jobs to be had, opportunity to be had. So if he can, circle the wagons and throw it in the big circle and just use let that stuff work, it's a viable option.
Yes, he's got 13 career appearances, missed all last year with injury. The Mariners have brought in a lot of different arms and some big arms, power arms in that bullpen, trying to remake him as Bautista walks the leadoff batter. What you don't want is walks. As the rain comes back, Bill, in Peoria.
Yeah, not very spring training like, but early in the spring you're gonna catch a day or two like this in Arizona. But once the calendar starts to turn a little bit further toward the end of March, boy, the weather gets stellar. This is just an aberration. But there you see a great breaking ball from Bautista. But again, you're rolling the dice on 3-2. You got 95 plus in your back pocket. I mean, let that baby rip. Let him put it in play instead of trying to throw a breaking ball to be perfect and maybe walking a guy.
And we'll see a lot of new power arms out of the pen, at least in spring, till it all kind of shakes out in the pen. But you've got Middleton, the guy from the Angels. You got Montero from the Rangers. You got Graveman, who's going to probably throw more velo just being a bullpen guy. So they got options, and they got power arms this year.
Yeah, there's a whole mix of guys there, and
2
I
lefties.
guess with Middleton and Montero, you have 2 guys that have closed. But again, you're coming back from Tommy John. I guess that's kind of, I think Jerry must look for guys that are coming back from Tommy John, because he seems to find a lot of them. And not to say that doesn't work. Giles is coming back from Tommy John, and we'll see him in a year. They've got him on the shelf. But I think it's really wide open to see who ends up in what order they go, and that order could change every couple of weeks. We'll have to wait and see. But there's talent there.
Bautista, again, the 25-year-old, this last season due to an injury, hard hit ball right at the shortstop. How about a little 6-4-3? Yes. Always love to see that. Spring training, regular season, it doesn't matter, Bill. So Bautista's got 2 outs as the rain continues to come down in Peoria. Last appearance for him against the Stros in 2019, August 3rd. Yeah, acquired from the Mets in that Cano deal. So, again, healthy options. You like to have those options out of the bullpen. Both sides, righties, lefties, and they've got them this year.
That's the best pitch in baseball. He throws a fastball down in a 2-hop Mimi to shortstop, and you get 2 outs out of it. But it's not a strikeout. It's a hard hit
But
ball.
it's effective. There you go. Hey, under the lights, as we see here tonight, when you're in spring pitching, I don't know if it's a big deal, but it's different because most spring training games are in the day, obviously. But to get ready for the season, it's somewhat important for these guys to play night games.
Yeah, there's a rhythm to baseball, and most of it's baseball played at night. So I think it probably makes a lot more sense to see, these guys playing more night games. I mean, in this instance, you're not really trying to chase the crowd out to a game because there is no crowd. Because day games are, for the most part, more popular. Fans want to come out and be in the sun, enjoy baseball during the day in spring training. That's not a real factor here, but you just see Major League Baseball in general playing more night games in spring training.
It's a 4-pitch walk for Bautista, his second walk in the inning. And we talked to Justin Dunn about throwing to Tom Murphy and how scary he is, even to his teammates, which I agree. But just having Murphy back, not just behind the dish, but that bat in the lineup. He missed all of last season with the foot injury as well. Getting him back, it's like adding, as the guys talked about, another impact bat in the middle of the lineup.
Yeah, the numbers were 260 at bats, 18 homers, hit 273, pretty decent on-base percentage. Of course, broke his foot, missed all of last season. Reliable bat, and particularly thunder against left-handed pitching. Numbers really jump. And he shows great leadership quality. You know, he plays a leadership position as catcher. You can tell there's a lot of reverence for him, not just by the pitching staff, but I think the coaching staff and the regulars, because of his work ethic and his attitude. He's got a winning attitude. He's relishing this opportunity he's getting here with the Mariners.
And through the raindrops, that one pulled to right field. A double. Runner going to stay at third. Yes, doesn't appear to be the swiftest of runners, so a 2-out double here, top of the 8th, puts runners on second and third. So the inning continues for Bautista.
Now you're fighting the count, and that's just going to be a recipe. It doesn't matter how hard you throw it. You know, these guys can hit, you know, they can hit speeding bullets if they know it's coming. So, but it's spring training. You have to sort of discount results a little bit, I think, Brad, and say, you know, this is a work in progress. I mean, my springs were never particularly stellar, particularly early spring outings. I usually started to throw the ball good the last 10 days of spring training. That's when I really started to pitch my best, and I kind of worked my way up to it. And I don't know if it was by design, because every time you go out there, you feel like, you know, someone's trying to take food off your table. So you want to do well. It's just kind of how it worked for me.
Well, I think it's the same way for a lot of players. I want to ask you, so when you weren't getting the results you wanted, but you kind of knew it was a process, but still, was that hard to say, I'll give up 2 runs, but that's okay. I'm trying to work on this pitch, or it's okay. Or did it bother you? Right.
Oh,
sounds good, right?
Bothers you. Bothers you. I mean, I think there's a measurement for how you're feeling, and are you getting ahead, and are you hitting spots? And some of the results you could discount a little bit because it's Arizona. And
ball travels.
Ball might be flying. It could be windy. Ball doesn't move as much down there. Drier air, you don't get quite as much bite on the breaking ball or movement on the fastball. And sometimes, you know, you might pitch in part of the game where there's a lot of tight ends and tackles playing on the field. Guys with numbers above 60. So, and you never know where they're standing, and they may not be standing in the right place. So stuff like that can happen too, but I think you internalize everything, and you take pride in what you do, and you want to be successful. And I was never really in a position where I could just glide my way through spring training, where I was on a multi-year deal and, you know, hey, just getting in shape. Nothing to worry about. No, I had to worry about it.
Prove yourself. You did that time and time again. The 1-2 count here, 2 outs. Top of the 8th inning. So if you're Bautista, you can throw 100. 1-2. What are you throwing here?
Well, I mean, it's a spot where you can. I wasn't watching the mix, but he still was breaking ball at the plate there. You know, you get 1-2 there. See, that's a breaking ball for a strike. He should try to bury that breaking ball there. And he.
All right. Let's see what Mr. Bautista does.
He's going to bury the breaking ball.
No, fastball.
I mean, you want to speed him up in, though. I'll throw that as a no-purpose fastball right there.
Here's another hoodie, Bill.
Yeah, well, not everybody walked uphill in the snow to school every day.
I guess
both
not.
ways. And these guys didn't do that. They had tropical weather to grow up in. Never saw a snowflake, I guess.
It's below 60. The hoodies come on. Here we go. 2-2 pitch here. Pretty nice piece of hit there on the fastball as well.
Sometimes I always say that the bat will never, you can never trick the bat. Just watch the bat head. If the bat head is on the breaking ball, you just read the bat. Don't think in terms of like, what's this guy thinking and I'm going to outthink him. No. There are very few hitters that would set you up, that you would throw, let's say, a breaking ball, and they'd look really foolish early in the count, and then they'd wait for you to come in 2 strikes, and they'd sit breaking ball. You know, the days of the Dave Parkers and the Toby Harras and the guys who used to do those kinds of things are not, they don't exist anymore because everybody's launch angle, get my pitch. You know, they're not thinking about setting guys up like that. But the bat will always tell you what to throw. And if you have the ability to throw 2 pitches, then you should be able to react to the bat.
All right, so already 2 walks this inning. Full count here. Second and third, 2 outs. Bautista on the mound here, top of 8. Mariners still leading 4-3. The rain coming down now, a little harder in Peoria. There you go. He did not. Want to help us out, buddy? No. So 3 walks in the inning. The base is now loaded. So, Bill, some of your outings, the inning is over in that one. That's 25 pitches. That's enough. So, all right. So, saved by pitch count, 4-3.
So that this pitcher can get his work in.
Bo Takahashi up on the mound for the Reds. Jensen Whitty up at the plate for the Mariners.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. Nobody's getting loose in the Mariner pen.
Well, now your move of closing the windows a couple of innings ago. It's a preemptive strike on your part. Nicely done.
Well, thank you.
Can you get out a washcloth and clean our lens off a little bit? Can you reach out? Can you open the window?
I cannot do that.
Sorry. It's the one away. Well, Kyle Lewis, Marco Gonzalez, the Mariners are back in action. Opening night presented by T-Mobile, Thursday, April 1st. The San Francisco Giants come to town. Tune in by 6 o'clock to catch pregame before the Mariners take the field for this very exciting season to come. For the full schedule, check out mariners.com. Marco making the opening day start for the Mariners for the 3rd consecutive year. Not a surprise there. Marco going on the mound tomorrow for the Mariners, a game that will once again be televised on Root Sports. Going up against the Rockies, a team that he has some ties to. Marco grew up in Colorado. His dad, a longtime coach within the Rockies organization. Spent a lot of time over the years in the minor leagues coaching pitchers for Colorado. And Marco, incredibly, during his 4 years in high school, not only started the state championship game in Colorado, but he was the winning pitcher 4 years in a row in the Colorado state title game. As Thomas fouls this off his foot.
And on a night like this, that one's going to hurt. Take a little while to walk it off. Another breaking ball. Rainy, 50 degrees. Yeah, that one hurts.
So, Mike, as you know, I'm heading your way tomorrow morning. Goldsmith family going to SeaTac, hopping on the Bird, making our way to the Valley of the Sun. And the Goldsmith family is very excited for this for many reasons. And, the kids now 6, 4, and 1 and change, low ones. And you'd be happy to know your name came up.
Oh, really?
Yes. My oldest, you know him well, Jackson, who's now 6. He spent what I would deem considerable time, especially in the world of a 6-year-old, trying to convince Hadley, his 4-year-old his 4-year-old sister, that you are the Mariners Moose.
Wonder where he got that idea from.
So I let him run with it for a little bit, and Hadley was getting really.
Hadley didn't fall.
She was getting really concerned. It's like, what's going on here? And I said, hey man, let's just knock it off. Let's get back to the Cheerios. Like you're creating a scene.
That sounds
here.
like something you started.
Well, and he goes,
that sounds like something you started.
He said, Dad, you told me. I was like, okay, I don't recall that specifically, but this does seem like it fits a player profile. My apologies.
I would guarantee it.
Sam Travis is batting. Snap throw down to first base. I'm impressed that you saw through that immediately. Like, it took me a minute. You were right on it.
Good for Hadley, by the way, not buying it.
She believes no one anymore.
That's your fault, you know that.
And her older brothers too, apparently. Cut on and missed. 2 away.
Well, I promise you, Aaron, better weather when you get here.
Well, I will say, tomorrow doesn't look great. It looks better than the Arctic rain that you're in right now. But, man, it does seem like in about 5 days or so it'll get back up to the 80s and perfect spring training weather. Brian O'Keefe climbs in, looks at a strike. Angling back into the corner. Wynn might be taking this. Foul.
You heard Scott Service talking about the wind blowing out the last few days. We saw a couple of balls that were hit down towards where the tarp is. They were going to be foul in right field, and they landed fair. One was a Kyle Lewis triple. I've never seen anything like it. So everybody's going to welcome better weather.
I target here, and time called. You know, there's been talk, as you know, Mike, about a new baseball this year in the majors and possibly limiting some of the damage we've seen with so many home runs. And based on what we've seen in spring training,
6th spot in the rotation, I thought Nick really threw the ball well. He was the starter today. Dunn came in relief. Impressive with Dunn today. Seeing 95, 96 miles an hour with that sharp breaking ball. This is a battle that's going to go all the way to the end of spring training, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I thought that was the biggest story tonight.
And they are fighting it out for the